Welcome to Opening Presents. My name is Aaron Robinson. Thank you so much for joining us. Today I am joined by Alex and Deagan from the hills just outside of Asheville, North Carolina. Before we started, Alex prompted us into sharing our intention for this conversation, and we did like a little meditation, which you just saw. But yeah, what just happened?
We had the same intention. We literally read each other's minds.
Yes, yes. The veil is thin up here in these parts. Yeah. Why did you choose intention, or how did it come up for you?
Yeah, so as we were in the meditation, I was contemplating what my one word is. And for me, it started off, I knew it was a C word. And so then I kept playing with communication, connection, context. But then I was like, well, there's also an element of truth in it too. So I was playing with all these one word intentions. And I just knew it started with the C. And when I came across connection, I was like, that's it.
Yeah, similarly, in following the theme of like what we've been kind of uncovering in this last 24 hours, which has just been like deep upheaval and just realization and sharing like each of our wisdoms that we carry with us. And it's becoming more of a common thing to be able to fully express and be fully received at the same time, and like what that does for the soma and psyche to be fully seen, and they don't have to over explain things. But the aspect of connection where all parts can be in that resonance of connection, as opposed to keeping like a little stash of me to myself over here. And there's almost like a beautiful songbird. There's an aspect of separation that is self-imposed, as like I'm an avatar and I'm going to keep part of me to myself over here and not fully be in the connection. And it's a self-preservational thing, but that's what what came up for me is like, can I fully be here in this conversation and fully connect? Because it is a safe space for me. It's already confirmed that my presence is welcomed here. So with that welcoming, like fully step into it and not hold any parts of myself back. Yeah. Deagan, what was your intention going into this?
My intention was openness. And as you were just sharing, openness and connection, I feel, go hand in hand. And one of my teachers, Usha, she shares the principle of welcome. And so as you're talking about connection and openness, like, can we really welcome all of those parts of us? And I think we can.
Most definitely. That's why I start every single episode with welcome to Opening Presents.
Perfect.
Welcome to Opened. Most definitely. Cool. Yeah, so thank you so much for welcoming me into your home. I guess I'll give like the groundworks as to like why I'm here. So I am participating in Heart of Men, Liberate Your Life Force container. The in-person part of the experience is these next few days in Asheville at Dancing Shiva, led by Thomas and Taylor. So we've been in this program for like the last like 4 weeks of probably like 12 men who are coming together to liberate our life force and come into closer contact with all parts of being a masculine man in this society, and recognizing the parts of ourselves that we've held in shame and grief and inaction. And awakening a part of ourself that has kind of been dormant, and I feel like it's dormant in the collective as well. So that's why I'm here, and it was a very like fast experience of reaching out to you guys, because I was flying standby and then was told that I had an opportunity to fly out early. So I reached out to you, and then you welcomed me with open arms. But Alex, you've been through this program before. If you could speak to a little bit about what that experience has been, as far as, or what does Liberate Your Life Force mean to you, and how you interface with that alchemical process.
Yeah, Liberate Your Life Force. I'm so excited for you. Um, and I'm so like blessed and honored to like hold space for you before you go in, because I'm one of the few people on earth who have done Liberate Your Life Force with Taylor and Thomas thus far. And you're definitely going on a journey,
Mm.
and I can feel your intention and yeah, care for yourself going into it, which is really, really beautiful. And also like great soil for something to bloom out of. But Liberate Your Life Force for me, there's the word liberate, and that's to free. And there's some truth with that. I understand why they named it that. But what felt more accurate for me in my context is generate your life force and hold sacred your life force. It's so much with us as men and our sexual reproduction, our abilities to like co-create life with women. And for I think I can speak on behalf of a lot of men, we're wasting a lot of it, whether that be through porn or even other energy leaks. Like we want to put our energy over here, our creative attention over here, our eyeballs and our desires over here. But for like generating the life force, it's really important for us to like hold it sacred, protect it, retain it, and then from there be very direct with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've also learned through yogic practices too, and also for people who choose the life of a monk and celibacy, there's intentionality because our life force is so strong and potent. If we hold on to that, it stores up and continues to build into the body. It's that what builds in the body is literally the seed of life. And so we continuously hold on and become that life.
Mm. That's beautifully expressed. I definitely feel that in mostly interface with the ways that it is wasted as far as focused intent and attention, and how it's easily diverted away from self. And neglect is kind of like the word that comes up for me, of just like you're neglecting this gift that you have to permeate or penetrate the world and the earth with. Yeah. Deagan, what's your kind of framing of what Alex is sharing as like the mirror for him going through whatever process of liberation, and how you interface with even the concept of a man liberating his life force in your witnessing of masculinity on like the global scale, but then engaging in like a sacred relationship as well?
Yeah, for me, it feels really exciting to have men in this space, because I feel in women's work, there's so much talk about the womb being the center of creation and like women reclaiming their power in that. And while that's needed, it also feels sometimes that it's like women are the creators, but men are creators too. And it feels exciting to have men coming back, like a recoming to a homecoming is what I'm looking for. Yeah, like a homecoming to their own power and their own creativity and ability to create. So it's exciting that men are going through this. And as a mirror and reflector with Alex, it's also important to have both sides of the conversation when it comes to sexual health, and not making it a conversation only for women, but to really invite men in. And with that, like Alex has learned a lot about my cycle and how that interferes with, or not interferes, but just the way that, it impacts my life and it impacts our life together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, one of the aspects to that relationship of the masculine and feminine, and the feminine welcoming that connection to like greater awareness of the polarity, and one having greater self-knowledge to show up better for the feminine, but then also the masculine coming into his full capacity. In what ways do you feel like the feminine can practically and tangibly invite this exploration for men to have that safety and encouragement to continue on that route, because I feel collectively there is this like surge, this beautiful surge of like women coming together, and it's like, oh, this beautiful thing, and they're all coming together. But then I hear whisperings and murmurings of just like kind of shutting men out of that cycle of generation. So maybe like reflecting upon like what that means, or maybe what you have seen, and how women can kind of invite men and encourage men to go into the fold. Because a lot of us have to literally like break all the pieces apart and become very vulnerable. And it takes like a very like sensitive and grounded woman to hold and witness a man going through his process without seeing the vulnerability as a weakness and be like, oh, this is my chance to jab, when it's like, oh no, like this is necessary and part of the process.
Yeah, Alex actually got a t-shirt from Thomas that says men's feelings are sexy. And that's all I feel like men's feelings are sexy, period. Like women, I think at least, we want men to be more expressive. We want to know what they're thinking and feeling. And so this is a journey that men and women need to walk hand in hand. And so I go to my women's retreats, I do women's work, and Alex goes to his men's retreats, does men's work, and then we both are like upward spiraling together instead of one of us going ahead, you know? And so it's like someone goes a little bit and then it's like, no, but you're coming too. But also there needs to be room for both of it, because I do think there's such power in women gathering, and I think there's such power in men gathering, but then to bring that together. And so one thing that we do is we lead breathwork together, and we bring in the masculine and the feminine. But also I'm very masculine and Alex is very feminine, and so we find ways to mix all of these energies. And I think it's important to then do the work separately, but come back together and actually implement that and embody that. And what does it mean to show up in a group that also has men or women?
Yeah, no, it is so important. And like the need, or I would say the need, but like witnessing like the dynamism between the masculine and feminine, and like all the different dimensions and fractals within the polarities. It's like literally infinite from point A to point B. Is like, oh my gosh, there is no like one thing for any of it. There's so many different layers. But it requires like a sense of like spiritual maturity to welcome all parts of it and notice like the points that get triggered within those spaces. I'll be like, oh, like here's like the wounded part of me that's showing up to someone's authentic expression, and is my response to shut that down in order to preserve like my feeling of safety in this moment, or can I generate my own sense of groundedness within this as somebody goes through their process, like in a breath work or in a conversation or in a community experience. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something I also want to, contribute to as well with the men's work and the Liberate Your Life Force concept. But as I've continuously like examined my own life, that was a theme over the last 24 hours, like living an examined life, I've come to find that there are really few men out there that aren't experiencing or struggling with at least one addiction. And that addiction could be tobacco, could be alcohol, marijuana, porn, or social media. There's such a variety of things that I've particularly witnessed men like getting sidetracked with on their life force. And I'm pretty confident I can go to any man on the street, give him those 5 kind of core addictions, and probably be really likely to be right that they're struggling with at least one of them, if not more than one. And so this men's work and being intentional with how we're actually using our focus, our creative energy, our sexual energy is the first step is to live that examined life where it's like, where is it actually being wasted first? If you're on a boat and your boat is sinking, like you could pail water all day, but if you don't plug the leak, you're going to be paling water all day and it's going to be so much harder. And I feel like a lot of men are spinning their wheels like that. So this men's work, this intentionality, this, you know, having like sacred partnership with women equally doing in their own respect is really important for this day and age, when a new leadership, I think we can feel, is all needing to come forth.
Yeah. With that new leadership coming forth, and it's oftentimes the thing that we kind of resist the most, is that like it's not coming from outside of us, like it's not coming from outside of this conversation, like it's being generated from this conversation and expressed outward into the world as far as the spaces that we hold. And yeah, continually investing in these practices, but then there oftentimes is like a confusion, or at least for me, experiencing a confusion around like how this new sense of leadership or being in the world is expressed, because I'm constantly met by patterns of the past or coping strategies, and it feels like there's never like a break. There's always just like a new confrontation where it's like, well, when am I gonna like transcend past this thing? Or how does, once the leaks are addressed and it's like, okay, I'm generating the energy, how does it want to be kind of brought into the world in a very intentional way, instead of just like, all right, I got all this chi, now like where do I put it? And it's just kind of eating itself over time until a leak comes out or masturbation comes up, and it's like, oh, I didn't create anything, or I created something but it didn't parlay into another opening or in another expansion. I guess that's more of like me expressing like what my experience has been before going into a container that is so focused, instead of just like this general like men connecting with themselves and beautiful, but it's like, no, there's like a very clear intention for it. And hopefully I'll be able to record a podcast with Taylor afterwards and see what the transformation is on the other side. So anybody who is intently listening to this right now can tune into that and see what comes up and what is going to be applied in this experience. So everyone starts their journey at a specific point in their lives. A lot of this, I would say 100% of this podcast, like my social media platform and my experience in this world, is finding the practice and then sharing it with as many people as possible, and realize that everyone has to engage with themselves on this level in whatever means and way that they can, or that feel the most natural to them or unnatural to them. But having a relationship with the inner world, having a examined life, and continually self-reflecting for the rest of your life is imperative. But I would love to hear from the both of you, like, where did that spark of introspection and duty to understand thyself come online and be fully awakened within you both? We'll start with Deag.
I feel like the turning point for me, and probably for both of us, was a few years ago. We went to a retreat in Brazil, and it was a We Are Nature retreat. And that was really the first time that we were just taken out of our context so fully. And both of us had traveled abroad for months at a time. You lived abroad. I just kept doing things abroad. But this was the first time in which we were eating food that was grown like 20 feet away from us. We were living on an agroforested piece of land that had been regenerated. It was completely depleted from cattle farming. And they literally brought the rain back to the region and completely transformed it. And I just remember us talking about it like, oh my God, we feel so good. At the time, it was also a retreat that didn't involve any alcohol. And for us, coming from and growing up in Wisconsin, where the drinking culture is massive, it was honestly like the first time that we had really taken a break, and we had started to experiment with what does our life look like without alcohol before that. And I remember that was like a 2-week retreat or something. We come back home and we're like, we still feel so good. Like, why would we go back to it? And so I feel that that was really a turning point for us to start to examine, like, why did we actually feel so good? Was it because we were eating this food that's alive and coming from such a close proximity? And was it because we weren't putting toxins into our body? Well, yeah, well, there's a time and place for alcohol, and we still consume alcohol every now and again. It's not what we were doing when we were consuming alcohol almost daily. And so for that, it was just sort of like subtle shifts that we were able to tune into and be like, wait, actually, we feel really good right now. Why would we go back to that? And then, of course, you come back and you're dropped back into your context. We move back to Wisconsin, or we come home from this trip and carry on with our jobs and our lives. And then there's the shift back, falling back into those patterns, like you were saying. And it really took effort for us to go back and quit those patterns, and for us to hold each other accountable, I really think, like, was key for us, especially being in that context. So I think that was the shift. And then since then, we've just started to make small pivots and small pivots. And again, it's like the exponential gain eventually, but it's the small changes that lead to that.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? I'd love to hear your take.
Mine started when I was 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
I'm
going way back.
I'm trying to find the brevity and clarity, because I probably could really go on a spiel.
Spiel on.
A spiel on.
Spielberg.
Yeah, but the Brazil retreat with my good friend Julian, who invited us there, and the sequence of events, I literally, just to like bring that Brazil experience into like just some more depth with it, I literally like won a winning lottery ticket to have some coaching sessions with the coach who ended up inviting us there. Like, I was at a roofing conference and I did a 50-50 raffle thing, and I literally won that ticket. That was the domino effect of us going to Brazil and having that experience, and all of the other dominoes that followed right after it.
It was divinely placed for us.
It was divinely placed. I mean, it showed me that, like, sometimes things are just going to happen on their own accord versus us efforting our way to them. And so there is this balance of, like, we want to have effort, but then we also need to have trust in the process too. And ultimately, like, trusting where we're currently at, what we're doing, and then also like surrendering to like really just trusting the universe, for lack of a better term, like, to do its job. It's a two-way street. But I will also add that my experience too with kind of living an examined life started when I was 19, 20 years old. Like most people, it came as a result of just being at rock bottom. And so I was recently graduated high school, had, the high school sweetheart, and I had this whole plan like in front of me, and it was totally like the plan that was laid out for me. Is like, marry a high school sweetheart and have kids, go to college, get a business degree, do the business thing, that. And there was just a few things that just like totally fell off the place of the earth, and I found myself at rock bottom. And I'll also add too that, I was having, at the time, I didn't have a connection with my breath. And there's a whole other story of that too, of my reclaiming my connection to breath. But I had a year of like panic attacks, like every single day for 365 days. I had some form of an anxiety or a panic attack. And what my mentor Phil would call, like, that was my dark night of the soul. And really being in those dark nights and that rock bottom place, it wiped the slate clean. It was deeply uncomfortable. Like, I wouldn't really like recommend someone pursuing rock bottom. But if they find themselves at rock bottom, what they need to be aware of is that it can be like probably one of the most blessed experiences of their life, because it's the opportunity to wipe the slate clean and literally re-examine everything else. And so that's what I did. I like wiped the slate clean on like my previous like religious beliefs. I'm like, scrap that. I scrapped the beliefs. You okay, Sam?
He's like falling back.
Our beautiful, wonderful co-founder.
Come on,
Come on in, Sam. Yeah, you need some love.
Bring it in. You can lay down.
This is the real star of Blue River Breathwork right here.
It's true. It's true.
He's the regulated nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Holding it down.
Yep. Yes, sir.
But as I was saying, like, rock bottom can be a completely beautiful place to re-examine everything else. And so I took my like previous connotations of what I thought religion was about, what marriage and like sexual partnerships, sacred partnerships, what was that all about? And I didn't do anything wild. I just put it under the microscope. I'm like, what is this? Does this actually align with me? Does this actually like feel good? Where is it that I'm curious about? And from that place of curiosity, go and explore. And so I was really curious about, I kind of crawling my way out of rock bottom. I started getting into like the law of attraction, into meditation, into some of these other like concepts that were maybe like outside of my box prior to being at rock bottom. But now rock bottom like just like eliminated the box. And so then I just simply followed my curiosities, one after another. And really, if I were to put my life on these dominoes, and that domino of Brazil being like a big one, like there's all these little micro dominoes that were already laid out for me from that.
Yeah, the journey is beautiful. Like once you like walk through that first door, and it's just like, all right, like more curiosity comes online, and getting to the beginner mind again, and seeing ourselves from the eyes of compassion, and realizing like, oh, I didn't have a choice in a lot of this stuff. Like that's the thing where I'm like, oh man, like sweet child, like you've been given all of these keys that are leading to doors that I don't care to open. But yeah, it's amazing how each of us gets to like construct a practice, whether that's meditation or using breath work or any sort of divination system, or finding something that works for you. Like nature has kind of been my core theme throughout all of my practices, is like there's always nature somewhere around any of the practices, and reminding that there's like an interface that is happening with the divine, with earth, with nature, that supersedes any sort of intellectual understanding of what this life is. It's like, no, like you're in relation with it at all times. Like it's not something out there that we need to grasp philosophically, but once we kind of like clean the windshield of our oneness with nature and seeing ourselves as such, like that in and of itself, like awakens the awe and the majesty of peeling back these layers of illusion that we think are real. That's like, this is real. Like it's not. And it's okay that it's not. And it's okay like to not be right about something. Like I have to keep reminding myself, as much as I want to be right about what I believe about these dynamics, interpersonal dynamics. The book that I was reading inside that you guys had, the Tao of Chaos, of like, yeah, like you can create any story that you want that will validate like this emotion, but like who cares about the story? Like how are you engaging with what you're feeling in any particular moment, and finding that like I have a hard time feeling my emotions. Like I can intellectualize and create a beautiful story where everyone's like, oh, you're so spiritually connected and wise, and I'm like, yeah, right, I know, validate me. But it's like, if I really tune in, it's like I don't know where the sensation is occurring. And that's something that I'm starting to gain a lot more awareness with, even just with the breathing practices of, oh, it doesn't matter what I think philosophically or conceptually, or what picture I can paint about why this person is shitty and why I'm great. It's like, no, but what is the feeling that you're afraid to feel? The fullness of this lived experience, and fully being in that welcoming state of welcoming all of the feeling, the sensation, the emotion, which oftentimes I feel like feels like overwhelming. I'm like, fuck, I don't want to experience all of life. Like I gotta experience like a little piece at a time, like a little tapas life, because I don't want to get swept away in it, in love, or deep connection, because like where do I exist if I can't manage this, and realizing that a lot of my spiritual journey is like letting go of like the steering wheel of managing what is happening within. So yeah, just thought I'd share that.
Yeah, I think you're hitting on such a theme that I see in society of like being able to intellectualize all of the things that are going on. Like I know all of my triggers and all of my stories and all of my childhood trauma, and I can tell you all about it all day long, but like actually where is the sensation in my body? And that's something, after we got back from Brazil, we hired a coach, Julian Guterlei, and I remember him asking me in like 2022 and saying like, okay, I hear you, but where are you feeling that in your body? And I was like, what do you mean, where am I feeling it in my body? Like I had no body awareness, and I couldn't even recognize that my shoulders were maybe like really high up, or I had tension here, or my chest felt closed, or any of that. Like none of that was online yet. And so I think that's the biggest piece, is like, how do we get people to actually feel their emotions instead of intellectualize them?
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. I guess this is like a great point to bring in your baby. Not Sam, the other baby. The other baby. He's like, talk about me. I know.
Yeah, well, to be summed up in maybe even like a kind of a cliche way of what Deagan's talking about, but literally the longest and most difficult journey is the 40 centimeters it is from the head to the heart. It's just right here to right here. And we can probably like theorize and be contextual, like conceptualize why our brain is so dominant, but that is just like the continue, like going back to Liberate Your Life Force. Like you can mentally masturbate all you want.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is fun.
That sounds dope. Yeah.
You're so cool.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Oh, let's make it more complex.
Yeah.
The more complex, the better. But to bring it back to like getting from the headspace to the heart space, the most effective and efficient way like I found to do that is through breath and through breathing. And it sounds so simple because we're all breathing and we're taking 20,000 breaths a day, but we don't realize that the quality of our breath can be improved upon significantly. And so the quality of your breath is definitely the quality of your thoughts, and the quality of your thoughts are the quality of your life. So it doesn't actually begin with a thought, it begins with the breath. And so that's a huge inspiration of Deagan and I's work with Blue River Breathwork, is to literally move out of the mind into the heart space. And we are certified facilitators in an active breathwork. And literally this active breathwork technique, some of the scientific component, it lowers oxygen in the brain. And so when we lower oxygen in the brain, it turns off the parts of the brain that are related to our to-do list, our schedule, our ego, our own judgments. So it's a very safe practice. It's that we're turning down the volume knobs of the parts of our brain that is really like loud. Like for me, in my experience of life, I have this like voice in my head, and I could be sitting in meditation and not hear the birds because my inner thoughts are too loud. Even though it's not sound, it's not particularly sound waves that is loud. And when we drop the volume knobs on the brain, that's when our feeling body is able to finally like be heard in a way. It's to be felt, and it's like, wait, what do I actually have in between my neck and my shoulders? And with some curiosity and some increased awareness, we can send that breath energy there. And I want to actually pause right there because I can't tell anyone what that is going to be for them. And that's the beautiful part of breath work. And my job as a facilitator is just to create the space and the circumstances for that exploration to happen.
That's beautiful. Deagan, do you have anything to add onto your connection to breath?
How I really fell into breathwork was with my mom's cancer diagnosis. And yeah, she was given 2 to 6 months to live. And it was completely out of the blue. It was pancreatic cancer. And so it was just like, here it is, and it's going to go fast. And that's all we know. And so that was really the first time in my life where I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How do I deal with my anxiety, my worry, also my to-do list of like, I moved back home, moved in with my mom and was her primary caregiver for the remainder of her 5 months. And so I was faced with all of these worries, all of these emotions that I didn't have an outlet for. And historically, I was one of the people who was really good at just like tucking things away and getting what I needed to get done and just like not addressing any of it. And I knew that something of this, something that is this important, it needed to be put under the microscope. And so I needed to actually feel all of the emotions that came with that, even if it was hard and it fucking sucked and it was scary and sad and I was pissed off. Like all of the things needed to just be spotlighted. And so that's when I had done active breath work before, but it was never something that I really like went back to per se. I knew the power of it, but I was like, I don't really need this because like I don't have anything going on. And then that happened and I was like, oh, I need this. And so I actually took a weekend, came out to Asheville and did a breathwork retreat with George Ramsey, who's a breathwork facilitator, masterful breathwork facilitator in the area. And my entire weekend was spent in several breathwork sessions, moving from resentment and anger to forgiveness and love. And truly with that, it transformed the final 2 months of my mom's life. And it was also such an important respite, being several months into the caretaking process, not knowing how much time I had left, but knowing that I still needed to show up and to be able to show up much more open, back to the intention for today, but to be able to show up with much more openness and much more love and much more acceptance of what was happening. That was the catalyst for me to really get back into breath work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what a gift to give to your mother as well. Like for her to see that you resourcing yourself and like witnessing the transformation like in real time, like energetically in that space, because we don't show up the same. Yeah, that's beautiful. How do you engage with grief, and what does that feel like in your experience?
Yeah. Great question. At the time of this recording, it's been just over a year since my mom died. And yeah, I'm sure, I mean, like it comes in waves and I'm sure it will forever, but some days are totally fine. And some days, like I remember I ate a strawberry, like one of the first strawberries of the season, and I just like sobbed because that was my mom's favorite fruit. Mm-hmm. And it's in those moments where I'm like feeling the heaviness and feeling the sadness, but also knowing that that's because of the love. And so I think for me, what has been the biggest challenge, but also the most helpful with my grief journey, is to just allow the emotions to come up when they do, instead of, again, historically, like just shoving it back here and being like, no, it's fine, I'm not sad. But actually, if I just allow the emotion to flow through, even if that's like sobbing for 2 minutes over a strawberry, then like it's out of my system and it feels like it completed the circuit loop or something, and I'm able to like accept it and feel the love and feel the sadness and feel the heaviness and all of that, and then like move on with my day, actually.
Yeah. Grief is definitely a door. We had a grief ritual at Men's Prayer for Peace where I met Alex, and like holding that space and like bringing the intention of like, oh, it's here right now. Like I don't get to choose when it's here all the time, but I'm going to fully presence the grief as it is, and like not just stuff it in the backpack and then like deal with it like 3 months down the line, which is what most people are doing just with stress in general. Like there's grief, there's stress, there's anxiety, depression, all the things that we're just like storing for later, and grief kind of falls in that same category. And as it shows up, it's pretty obscure. Like as somebody who has a tough time like feeling. It's like with all the other things with life happening, it's like I'll project a different quality on the feeling of grief, and it's like, oh, I'm being lazy or non-productive, and it's just like, nah, motherfucker, you gotta cry. Like, you gotta process this thing right now. But I'm like crossing the signals, and it's just awkward for me. I'm like, I don't know how to do it. But back to Men's Prayer for Peace was the first time that we're dealing with grief now and creating that sacred container for it. And we had this experience where there was like 4 placements around our altar, our grief altar, that had like water and earth in it, like leaves and stuff like that. And we had this beautiful music soundtrack. And whenever it was time for any of us to like kind of emote and express the grief, like it was our turn to kind of go over to this altar. And I was standing there, and like I started feeling something, and I was like, oh, I don't know what this is, like, but let me just go see. Like, let me go see if this is what grief is. And as soon as I got to my knees, like I just started crying, and I was like letting it all out. I'm like, I didn't even know like it was like I didn't even know it was there, but everything around it was the proper condition, without any to-dos afterwards. There isn't like, oh, I gotta go to the gym in the morning, or I gotta do all of these things. And it was it was a beautiful door to like actually walk through with absolute clarity, so I can have almost a rehearsal of like, oh, when I experience this sensation or whatever, give myself over completely to the grief and go through its full completion in this process. And then I can continue on and not be bogged down by it or caught in these like loops of aversion that keep putting me into the distraction and the leaky coping mechanisms that we use, is because we're not addressing the grief as it shows up in our lives or anything that we're averse to. Yeah.
Have you gone back to that grief ritual? Like, have you done a mini version at your own house?
But I'm about to, though. I'm about to right now. Yeah. I'm about to. Yeah. I assume we're gonna do that again soon. But I do have like my moments, but as far as the intentionality or identifying it immediately, like back to like the feeling sensation of how do you create more awareness within the body to like recognize where it exists and where it rests and where it kind of emerges from. Yeah. That's kind of, I feel like a lot of my work is right now is that awareness, the body awareness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing that breathwork has really taught me in being in these spaces, and especially as primarily Deagan has begun working with people in the hospice caretaking role, but especially around the topic of death and caretaking, I've really seen it a lot with both men and women. But I've noticed that when the tears come and they're not used to it coming, I can feel the hold back, and sometimes it's even cherried on top with an apology. It's an apology for the emotions. But what I've come to learn is that, like, we're all these, if we look at the body like a house, our emotions are the stuff within it. And eventually, everything within our house will need to be dealt with. Even if after we pass, there's got to be something to do with that stuff. And so even if we hold back those emotions and even apologize for it, that doesn't mean that they're going to be going away or even felt better. It's really honestly being left to be dealt with later. And usually if we don't have strong practices, they're let out during the most inconvenient moments. The anger we felt at so-and-so back then comes out now as like the anger, like when we're dealing with our kid. It's not is it really the kid's fault, or is it the unaddressed anger that we've just been building up, and then it just bursts out and we don't completely understand it? Again, the emotions aren't like conceptualized by the mind. And that's one of the pillars of our breath work, is that like anything that happens here doesn't need to make sense. And let's welcome that, actually. Like, let's welcome the nonsense. Let's be nonsensical, Because if we're nonsensical now, we're more sensible later. And, especially with men and this idea of peace, there's so much anger that us men can feel from a variety of things. And it doesn't matter what makes someone angry, but we need to recognize that we feel it. But we need places where we can go and scream into the pillow, because if we don't find a place to scream into the pillow, we might be screaming at each other. And I personally am not asking for a world more of where we're screaming at each other.
Mm-hmm.
We create breath work. We're going to go in, deal with our shit, do our emotional hygiene so we can show up as an authentic and true self who's acting in integrity, knowing that we've done the housekeeping.
Yes. Aho to that.
Aho.
Yeah. It's beautiful when we find these pillars of relating to ourselves and the world and offering a service, as you guys are, as I am, and as our community is, and our growing community. And it's very heartening to meet and resonate with people that are on a very similar parallel mission, and we're all going into a place of more heart coherence and taking care of ourselves along the way, and doing the housekeeping ourselves, and practicing the self-responsibility. And it's anybody who shows up to anything that we do, it's no, this is for you to take care of your own stuff. Nobody outside of these walls is going to breathe for you. And we got to stop thinking that the government or Big Daddy, our dad wound, is going to be someone's going to do it for us. Or there's this instinctual offloading of responsibility that culturally has become the norm, that no one's going to save us. We have to save ourselves. And I think it starts with our nervous system. So yeah, breathwork, you should do it for sure.
Check it out.
Yeah.
You'll really like it.
Yeah. How are we looking on time? What does it say?
It's 20 right
now. No, on that thing. 50 minutes. Beautiful. Well, that's enough time to Gene keys, baby.
Oh, gene keys.
The gene keys.
The gene keys.
Yeah, what are they?
Yeah, so for me, the gene keys are 64 ways to really become enlightened, if I may be so bold.
Are you enlightened?
Oh.
I'm not.
Oh, shit. What's it like?
65.
Tell me.
Well, I'll let you know when I get there, but the gene keys is an astronomical tool, so it does take in the stars into account when it's generating a profile, but really it dives into the core aspects of our life, addressing our genius, our relationship to love, and ultimately our relationship to prosperity. And they're not to be taken as a science. This is not, again, we want to move out of the conceptualization of these things, but they're really here to act as a compass. So for example, the gene key, if someone pulls up their profile, at the very top, it's a sphere called life's work. And so it's this contemplation of how am I supposed to show up and act in the world? And the gene keys, each key will have 3 layers of consciousness. And what I mean by that is, think about, there's a low frequency. Think about that being stuck in traffic. Smog, you're in Chicago or Miami traffic, you're stuck. Google Maps is nothing but red for the next amount of time, and it's really frustrating. It's that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
The highest frequency, also known as Siddhi, Siddhi, it's a Sanskrit word. That's the enlightenment place. That's the highest frequency we can get, that enlightened frequency. But then there's a middle frequency, and that's known as the gift. And so if we have the low frequency as stuck in traffic, nothing but red, and the highway of being able to go, not even just the highway, the Autobahn, you can go as fast, you can go anywhere, you can go as fast or slow as you want. Freedom. It's the freedom to live your life in that the way that feels authentic to you. But if we want to go from the low road to the high road, we need the on-ramp. And the on-ramp is the gift.
Mm-hmm.
And so really, when we're looking at these gene keys, we really want to become aware of like how is the gene keys addressing what the low frequency of our life can look like. And once we're aware of that, we can then know where the nearest on-ramp is to get off of the highway and get off of the city traffic and onto the higher roads, if that makes sense.
Yeah, most definitely does. Yeah, the Gene Keys came into my life, I would say a couple of years ago, where I listened to a Richard Rudd interview, and there's certain people who speak, and you're just like, that is the truth. Like, I don't care where you got it. Like, I don't care if you had an awakening, like in a bathtub in Amsterdam. Like, when certain people speak of transmissions and how accurate it is, I'm like, oh shit, because like I downloaded my hologenetic profile, and it's free. You can go and get your profile by putting in your birth date, time, location. That it? Yeah, birth date, time, location, and then it kind of gives you exactly like what is it, like the golden road or something like that?
Golden path.
The golden path of and it just shows all the different aspects of our genius, but also our shadow tendencies as well. And my life's work is my what's the bottom one called again?
Desire.
Yeah. No, but what's it called just in general?
Shadow.
The shadow. Yeah, the shadow of desire, and then the gift of lightness, and then the city of rapture. And coming into contact with what that means for me, like the lightness, like I think of it, if we relate it back to breath work, if we relate it back to like ease in the body, like the constriction of desire comes in when like there's just hyper fixation on this is the one way out of the suffering, and I want to get rid of this thing so bad, and there's only a couple of ways to quell this feeling of discontent within. Like that for me is desire, is just like everything going in, and I don't see all the different opportunities around me to transcend this sensation of immediate suffering or whatever I'm existing in. And like the gift of lightness I experience with a lot of synchronicity and a lot of acceptance of just life in and of itself, and allowance, like when things come up and I just say yes because I just know that it's supposed to be, and there's the desire or at least the fear goggles come on, and it's like, of course there's all these things that are in the way that I can hyper focus on with that desiring energy to create a solution or a validation of the limitation, or like living in the lightness. It's just like, oh, this is gonna work out, and just the juxtaposition somatically is something that I experience. But it's just a relationship and creating a lot more clarity of this purpose and this mission. It's always like a great reference to have as more awareness comes online. The gene keys and the golden path have new meaning as I'm starting to learn more about myself, and certain things are kind of obscure, and then I'm like, oh, that's what that means.
Yeah, it's Richard, it's a living wisdom. And so like for each frequency there's just a single word. And so my gift, my on-ramp for my life's work is integrity. And I've been contemplating this for 3 years, and honestly it's probably a new definition every single day. But like, what a beautiful thing that there is something so potent in this world that we all know the definition of integrity. We've heard it before, but something so potent that like it's something you can approach every single day and find something new about it and a new application in your life. That's a living wisdom because it's not static, it's dynamic. And yeah, here you are talking about your life's work, and we could go on a full podcast talking about the transformation of desire, lightness, and trying to understand what does rapture mean.
What the what? Like I think it just means like the sun parting and then me saying, and then disintegrating into light. That's what I think rapture is.
That is super. I would say that is super
Yeah,
close.
I know.
The gene keys are also part influenced by the I Ching. And if my memory serves me correctly, the I Ching for yours is fire over fire. It's the incomplete engulfing into the flames gene key. So the I Ching has elements. So there's 2 elements, or they can be a double up. And that, I believe, is the double up of fire. So to be completely engulfed within the flames, and when we're talking about the highest frequency, is to be completely engulfed and inflamed by love.
Yes. That's so wild, because that's essentially like what I've been talking about this whole entire time. Like, where does fear exist in my life is like keeping that little piece to myself instead of fully committing to love, and like architecting experiences that maybe don't have the clear sign of full engulfment. It's like, oh, safety, like this connection that it is not the thing that I truly want. It's like the bargain bin, like I mentioned yesterday. It was just like, I'm looking for like bargain bin relationships. I'm like, oh yeah, it's like cute, like, or an experience, or a way to make money. It's always like the thing that is like safe, and nobody's gonna like look at me and be like, oh, he's tripping. But it's not the thing that I actually want. Like, I want like the love, but there's just so much fear wrapped up in that to fully give myself over to it. And even the book that I picked up, like the Tao of Chaos, like just the propensity to just reject situations or project the rejection. So it's like, oh yeah, like they don't like me anyways, and move on, when that was the invitation, was to meet the self and to be fully seen in that moment, and to welcome the engulfment, the rapture of love. So I see it up here, but then to experience it is why I'm in this part of the world right now, having this conversation, going into this immersion tomorrow. So it's all in perfect timing.
Yeah, with that life's work key, I want, in my experience, is that life's work, the 12 o'clock sphere, that shadow seeks you out. It's not always something that percolates from within you, but it's almost that the world's desires comes and finds Aaron, because it knows that you have the ability to either give it more of the shadow frequency, you can fall within it. It's like, join us sort of a thing. And like, it knows that you're the perfect substrate for it, while simultaneously knowing that you are the perfect one to give it, to put the lightness into it. So it's kind of like that parable of the 2 wolves, of like, whichever wolf you feed will survive. So that gene key will find you as 2 wolves, as the shadow or the gift frequency, and it's up to you to feed which one you want. And so it seeks you out.
That part is free.
What seeks you out, Deagan? What's your life's work gene key?
My life's work is, the shadow level is failure, and then the gift is preservation.
Highest frequency.
Yeah.
Veneration.
Highest frequency is veneration.
What does veneration mean?
Go on.
No, it's your gene key.
Yeah, like we venerate saints or something in that context. And so it's like holding it at the highest is the way that I interpret it. But what you asked at like the beginning of the podcast of when did we start living an examined life? Honestly, the gene keys were a huge part of that, is because at least the way that I work with the gene keys is it's not that we're always trying to change. It's more of just a reflection. And so I noticed myself with failure, like fear of failure, or another big one for me is expectations to detachment. We are always working on that one. But when I find myself with expectations around whatever, work, relationships, money, blah, 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 it's like, okay, I see this. I am very present with my expectations right now, but how can I move to detachment? And so it's not always like shame and guilting myself into like, oh, here I am again with my expectations and they're never ending. It's like, all right, cool. I'm here. I recognize that. I accept it. And let's see what it would feel like to move into detachment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the shadows are here to serve us. Actually, desire, failure as shadows of the gene keys are here to serve us as signals. It's like going back to the car analogy. The shadows can be really, we need to thank them because they're like traffic lights. It's like literally telling us to stop, pause, maybe even slow down a little bit, re-examine, and then ultimately go. But after we slowed down and paused, even just for a microsecond. So when we cultivate awareness, so for me, my life's work gene key is judgment. Ooh, that's a nasty. That's been a.
I don't like your shoes.
Yeah, it's judgment, and then the twin flame of it is opinion. So I'm always working with judgment and opinions. Real easy. Not. But when I cultivate the awareness of that I'm having a judgment, like the ability to pause, thank it, and recognize that I'm in judgment is simply like the signals like actually integrity is needed here. So it's judgment to integrity. So judgment is just a clear sign that, hey, we have an opportunity to go into the gift level. And the gene keys, it's fun to say that 64 ways to enlightenment. When we hang out at the gift frequency enough and long enough and ultimately bring in teachers who have gotten to those levels, then we can get there. But really at first, for a pragmatic level of us living in 2025 here in Burnsville, North Carolina, where it makes the most sense is simply the awareness to know when our gifts are needed and particularly which gifts are needed. So when judgment comes into place and I see judgment, going back to the I Ching, the I Ching correlated name of this is fix what has been spoiled. It's kind of a longer one of the I Ching, but with that in place, when I see something that's like, when I'm judging something, I now have the awareness, like, know that there's probably something actually like spoiled, for a lack of a better word, like it could be improved upon. Take food, for example. Maybe I'm at a restaurant and I order some food and it just doesn't taste good. I can either sit there and say, this waitress didn't do it this, like the chef sucked, like we should have never come here. I could keep in the loop of judgment and just like being like sitting in the spoil. Or like what's more of an integrity? Maybe add some salt. Maybe like talk to the waitress. Like as long as it's like in integrity, like instead of sitting there in the judgment, like, okay, well, what can actually be done about this? What can be easily done about this? Like adding a little bit of salt actually probably would dismantle the judgment. But it's that choice. It's like,
yeah. So do you carry like a little salt packet with you at all times? Put some salt on it.
yeah.
Salt Bay. Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah, the gene keys are definitely going to be something that are going to be with me in my practice for a very, very, very long time. I have a final kind of contemplation before we land this plane. What do you feel like with a genuine application of an examined life for each individual on this planet? Like, what is the collective experience? Like, where are we going when more people like take that self-responsibility and show up to these breath works, when they show up to these women's circles, when they show up to these men's circles and are actually engaging with the process? Like, what does that look like on a collective scale? Because I think there's a lot of like distraction, and there's kind of almost like pie in the sky, but like on a practical sense, like how does society change when we commit to healing? Even though you guys hate that word.
I don't hate the way.
Yeah,
Go for it, Deagan.
I think it's gonna look and feel like people feeling safe in their bodies. Again, going out of the mind and into the bodies. And I have learned so much about the nervous system, and we could go on forever about the nervous system. But when people are able to recognize when they're in the window of presence, and even if you don't know the nervous system in detail, there's basically the reaction of hyper arousal, of like fixing and doing and trying to get everything done really quickly, and then hypo arousal, which is like full collapse on the couch and binging Netflix. When you're in the middle, that's the window of presence, and that's where we want to be most of the time. And so I think as more and more people are living an examined life, we'll be able to actually not see it as much as we'll be able to feel it. We'll be able to feel the relaxation in the collective, and we'll all be able to just sort of walk into like even a restaurant and everyone's kind of like, ooh, because everyone's moving really quickly. You'll be able to just walk in and go like, oh, nice. This is going to be a great day. Mm-hmm. And the collective stress level will just drop.
It's a damn good question. Can you like re-ask the question for me, please?
Yeah. So if the collective, meaning the majority of people in the world, orient towards themselves and take meaningful steps to examine their behaviors, their histories, their impacts, and take full responsibility of creating more awareness of themselves in service to the whole, what does the world look like or feel like?
How much time do we have?
As much time as you need.
Honestly, there would probably be a brief period of time where it feels like utter collapse, because so much of our systems are running on something that is not serving. Mm-hmm. We have systems that are polluting our waters and our air and using people as resources rather than treating them as humans. So what does that look like? Those falling. And ultimately afterward, what does it actually look like? Like, it means we can like drink clean waters again. Like that, probably the best example of the barometer of like how well we're doing is how well the natural world is doing. And like, so we like look at these trees and we can look at deforested areas and like, are they growing back? And are they growing back in a way that is in a regenerative way where it's not monocultured trees? Because like, look at us, we planted a tree for every sale. Like, okay, no, but like, how about all of the other heartbeats that coexist with us on our planet? Their thrival and survival is equivalent to ours. But the truth of the matter is our systems right now are creating the greatest genocide of heartbeats on this planet currently. So when we live that examined life, buckle up, everyone. Like, we do this work simply to transform fear into love. And when those systems collapse, there could be a lot of fear. But when we examine our lives and really dig down deep of what our needs are, we can work together in unison and also know that our needs can be taken care of in a way that also takes care of the needs of the rest of the planet. So yeah, it's probably going to be deeply uncomfortable. But like I was saying earlier in this podcast, it'll probably feel like a rock bottom. But in that rock bottom, even as uncomfortable as it is, there is a great opportunity to re-examine things and to build things up in a way that isn't aligned with those examined values.
Mm-hmm. Aho to that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe we're societally like at the doorstep of the rock bottom, if not full, like knee deep in it right now, and it's an opportunity to awaken.
I heard that COVID was the first of 7.
First of 7. Oh, Lord. Oh, my God. I look at COVID as a blessing, though. Like, it ripped a veneer away from, like, the collective illusion. And I know that people have their different experience with it, but, like, my personal experience with it was like, oh, finally, like, some of the illusion is being chipped away. Like, this is the first, like, big, like, hunk where there's, like, light peering through, and I was like, I fucking knew it. I knew it. I knew that there was something going on with all this stuff, and it was very validating to experience that and not be manipulated by the fear cycle that was kind of like, come on, like, pledge allegiance to this fear. And I was like, no, like, I have a voice. I need to share the voice and devote myself to practice and inner cultivation. And yeah, so it's been a journey, but first of 7, God dang. God dang. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we can have this conversation. We've had this conversation 7 times already, just like since I've been here. But yeah, landing this plane, where can people find you guys on the interwebs and engage?
Yeah, so blueriverbreathwork.com is the best way to engage with us. I do personal gene key sessions where I examine with you and give you an accelerated understanding of your gene key profile, and to like really like look under the hood a little bit and see which tweaks can be made right away for your own application to accelerate your own life from that stuck in red GPS road to the on-ramp. I can help with the on-ramp. The enlightenment, that's up to you.
Beautiful.
That's up to you and any other teachers. That's on my personal website with alexlee.com. And then everything breathwork. Please, Deagan, tell us about
BlueRiverBreathwork.com. We have online classes. If you're in the Western North Carolina area, we host in-person sessions. We do one-on-one or two-on-one, and in this case, sessions as well. We have courses and downloadables all on the website, so you can find it all on BlueRiverBreathwork.com.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Deagan. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Sham. Thank you, Sam.
For anyone watching this, we have lost our dog to Aaron.
Yeah.
He is going home with Aaron.
And thank you all for listening to Opening Presents.